So, your bike's parked in the garage, keys are on the hook. Sun's out, you've got time, and yet you're still not riding. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. Sometimes we buy the wrong bike. Not because it's a bad machine, no, might even be a great bike, but because it's not your bike. Maybe it was the price, maybe it was the hype, maybe it just looked good on the showroom floor next to your dumb, hopeful face. But riding is supposed to feel like flying, not like filing taxes. If your bike feels like a burden, a mismatch, or a regret in disguise, you might have picked the wrong partner. The good news? You don't have to live with it. Let's go over the telltale signs that your bike isn't the one, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Because life is too short for the wrong two wheels. Number 1. You avoid riding it for no clear reason. You've got time. The weather's perfect. Your helmet's right there by the door. But instead of riding, you're cleaning your kitchen sink or watching someone else ride on YouTube. You could go out, but you don't. And deep down, you know why. The bike just doesn't excite you. It's not fear or weather or traffic. It's lack of connection. You don't crave the ride because the ride doesn't feel right. When a bike is right, you look for excuses to throw a leg over. You think about it during work. You peek at it before bed. If that spark's not there, something's off. And you can't fake chemistry. But that doesn't mean you need to sell it tomorrow. Sometimes all it takes is hopping on a few other bikes. Borrow a buddy's, visit a dealer, take a test ride on something totally different. Cruiser, sport bike, ADV, whatever. Just see how it makes you feel. Because the second you ride a bike that fits you, everything clicks. The grin shows up before second gear. And if nothing else compares, maybe it's just a phase. But if something does make you smile the way this one never did, then it's time to be honest with yourself and make a change worth riding for. Number 2, you're physically exhausted after every ride. You finish the ride and you're wrecked. Not in a good way. More like your wrists are throbbing, your neck's locked up, and your lower back feels like it lost a fight with a forklift. And the worst part, you didn't even go that far. Maybe 40 minutes tops, mostly smooth roads. And yet, your body's screaming like you just got off a dirt track in a thunderstorm. This isn't about age or fitness. It's about ergonomics. If your bike's ergonomics don't match your body, every ride becomes a slow-motion punishment. Maybe the bars are too low, the pegs were too high, or the seat was carved out by demons. Whatever it is, the geometry is working against you, not with you. But here's the thing. Sometimes a few simple tweaks can transform your entire riding experience. A set of risers, a better seat, lowered pegs, or even a windshield can change how your body reacts to the bike. If that doesn't cut it though, you might be riding the wrong species altogether. Some bikes were just built with your frame in mind, and there's no shame in admitting that. Find a ride that fits, and suddenly you're going longer, feeling stronger, and pulling back into the garage thinking, damn, I could do that all over again. Number 3, you're constantly making excuses for it. You know the drill. Someone asks you how you like your bike and your first instinct isn't, I love it. It's, well, it's not that bad once you get used to it. Or maybe, it's got some quirks, but that's part of the charm. Sound familiar? If you find yourself constantly defending your bike like it's your weird cousin at Thanksgiving, that's a red flag. You're not explaining its personality, you're rationalizing regret. Deep down, you know something's off. Maybe it vibrates too much. Maybe it never feels planted. Maybe it's just not fun. And instead of admitting that to yourself, you dress it up in excuses. It's easy to fall into the trap of sunk cost, telling yourself that because you already bought it, you need to make it work. But motorcycles aren't arranged marriages. You're allowed to change your mind. Take a hard look. Make a list. What do you like? What do you hate? Be brutally honest. If the bad outweighs the good, don't keep forcing the relationship. There's a difference between learning to understand a bike and bending over backwards to tolerate one that never felt right. The truth, when you're on the right machine, you don't need to make excuses. You just grin and ride. Number 4, you can't flat-foot it and it's stressing you out. Every red light feels like a mini panic attack. You slow to a stop, shift your weight, tiptoe down, and hope the ground comes soon. If there's a slope or a patch of gravel, forget it. You're sweating bullets. What should be a simple pause becomes a balancing act, and it chips away at your confidence with every ride. Some riders can manage tall bikes just fine. But if it's stressing you out, that's what matters. Riding shouldn't feel like tightrope walking. If you're always worried about dropping the bike in a parking lot or awkwardly leaning too far at a light, it drains the joy out of everything else. You don't have to sell the bike right away, but there are ways to make it work. Lowering links, shaved seats, adjusted suspension. But be honest with yourself. Even with all the tweaks, will it ever feel easy? Will it ever feel natural? The right bike should fit you, not fight you. You should be able to stop, plant your feet, and feel in control. Not like you're balancing a refrigerator on two wheels. Riding is already risky enough. Don't let ergonomics turn it into a daily gamble. There's no shame in sizing down. It's about confidence, not height. Number 5. You're scared to take it on the highway or off it. You know that feeling when you look at a road and think, maybe not today. That's not just mood, it's mistrust. If your bike makes you second-guess highway merges, avoid curvy roads, or flat-out skip detours that aren't freshly paved and perfectly dry, it's waving a big red flag in your face. A good bike doesn't make you nervous. It makes you want to go places. Maybe it's twitchy at speed. Maybe it vibrates like a paint mixer over 60 miles an hour. Maybe it feels too light in crosswinds or too clumsy on loose gravel. Either way, if you're steering your life around your bike's limitations, that bike is wrong for your roads. The solution isn't to man up or force yourself through white-knuckled rides. It's to reassess what kind of riding you actually do. A dual sport might look cool, but if you spend 99% of your time on highways, it's gonna feel like punishment. Same goes for a sport bike that hates potholes or a cruiser that drags in every turn. Find a machine that thrives where you ride, not one you have to babysit or tiptoe around. When your bike matches your routes, the whole world opens up. That fear, gone, replaced by pure momentum. Number 6. You can't ride it far without refueling or fidgeting. If every ride turns into a countdown, whether it's fuel range, back pain, or numb hands, you're not riding, you're enduring. Maybe your tank barely gets you across town before the light flickers. Maybe the seat feels like it's punishing you for having a spine. Or maybe your legs are folded tighter than a lawn chair and you're squirming at every light. Whatever the case, if your body or your bike's setup keeps cutting the ride short, it's not built for you. This isn't about being soft. It's about having the right tool for the job. Some bikes just aren't meant for long stretches. A city commuter with a 2-gallon tank isn't going to handle weekend road trips. A sport bike might be fun for 30 minutes, but try 3 hours and you'll be begging for mercy. You can experiment with better seats, windshields, bar risers, or gel grips. That might take the edge off. But if you're still clock watching and planning routes around gas stations, it's time to face the truth. You picked the wrong machine for your miles. Long rides should feel like freedom, not a punishment. When you find the right bike, it disappears underneath you. Until then, it's just another thing to endure. Number 7. You feel like you're pretending to be someone else. Every time you ride, it's like you're putting on a costume. Maybe it's a sport bike that screams track day while you ride like a chill Sunday cruiser. Maybe it's a chromed out bagger that fits in at bike nights, but not at all with your minimalist style. You liked the look, the idea, maybe even the Instagram vibes. But now, riding it feels more like performing than being yourself. This mismatch shows up everywhere. You hesitate at stops. You feel awkward parking next to other riders. You second-guess your gear, your posture, even your route. And the worst part, you can't relax into the ride because you're constantly adjusting to an image instead of a machine that fits. There's nothing wrong with liking a bike's style, but when the image outweighs the experience, it kills the joy. A good bike feels like an extension of you, not a billboard. You don't have to become someone else to justify your choice. Sometimes the answer isn't more mods or better gear. Sometimes it's letting go of what you thought you wanted and finding a bike that fits the real you. Your pace, your preferences, your weird quirks. Because the right bike doesn't need a performance, just fits. Number 8. You never push it because you don't trust it. You're riding well within your limits, not because you're cautious, but because deep down, you don't trust the bike. You enter corners slower than you should. You avoid quick stops. You never roll on the throttle with confidence. There's always this quiet hesitation in the back of your mind, like the bike's gonna surprise you in the worst way. Maybe it's twitchy handling, vague brakes, or suspension that feels like a pogo stick. Whatever it is, the connection just isn't there. You don't feel like the bike is working with you. you feel like it's waiting to catch you off guard. You can try a setup check, tire pressure, suspension sag, brake feel. Sometimes a little tuning can transform a bike's behavior. But when everything's been adjusted and it still feels sketchy, the truth becomes harder to ignore. This just isn't the machine for you. Because the best bikes aren't just powerful, they're trustworthy. They let you lean harder, brake later, and ride freer. When you can't push, you don't grow. And when you don't grow, the bike becomes a cage instead of a tool. Trust matters. And if your bike doesn't earn it, you owe it to yourself to find one that does. Number 9, you're always modifying it to be something else. You told yourself you loved the bike, but then came the new seat, and then the new bars, then different tires, a windscreen, luggage racks, lower pegs, higher risers. And now, you got a Frankenstein monster that barely resembles the original. You keep saying you're just dialing it in, but the truth is, you're trying to make it into a different bike entirely. Maybe you bought a naked bike, and now you're trying to make it a tourer. Or you grabbed a cafe racer but keep wishing it had cruise control and soft suspension. Whatever the combo, you're fighting the bike's DNA, and it's winning. Sure, mods can help, but when the list never ends and the bike still feels wrong after all the upgrades, it's time to admit it. You didn't buy the wrong version, you bought the wrong category. Instead of spending more time and money trying to twist it into something it was never meant to be, trade it for the bike you're building in your head. That one already exists somewhere, and it won't need 17 mods just to feel halfway decent. Number 10, you can't stop comparing it to other bikes. You walk into the garage, look at your bike, and feel nothing. Then you see someone else's ride at a cafe or on the street, and suddenly your heart skips a beat, but not for the one you own. You scroll the listings late at night, you watch review videos on bikes you don't own, and every group ride ends with you quietly resenting how much better someone else's machine sounds, rides, or looks. It's not just curiosity, it's envy, and it creeps into your enjoyment. Instead of loving what you have, you're always wondering what you're missing. That constant comparison robs you of confidence, of excitement, and honestly, of a real bond with your ride. This isn't a sign to feel guilty. It's a sign that your taste has evolved. Maybe you bought what you thought you wanted, or what someone else told you was the smart choice, but now you know better. And that's a good thing. You've developed preferences, priorities, and experience. So instead of endlessly tweaking what you have, or pretending it's good enough, listen to that itch, because it's not going away. And the bike that doesn't make you look at other bikes, that's the one worth owning. Number 11, your confidence hasn't grown. You've had the bike for months, maybe even years, but somehow your riding hasn't evolved. You still hesitate on corners, still get stiff in traffic. You still avoid certain roads because something about the bike just doesn't feel right underneath you. And that quiet fear, it's still there, sitting in your stomach every time you twist the throttle. Here's the truth, the wrong bike can freeze your growth. If the ergonomics mess with your control, if the power delivery intimidates you, if the handling feels unpredictable, becomes a mental block. Instead of building skills, you're building anxiety. But confidence isn't just about seat time, it's about the right seat. A bike that fits your skill level, your size, your riding environment, and your instincts will unlock your potential. It should invite you to push a little, lean a little, trust it a little more each ride. If that's not happening, the problem isn't you, it's the partnership. Trade for something that feels like an extension of you, not a fight you keep losing. The right bike doesn't just move you forward, it lifts you up. Number 12, you just don't love it. You walk into the garage, glance at the bike, and keep walking. Not because you're busy, not because it's raining, but because deep down, you just don't feel anything. No excitement, no anticipation, no spark. It's like being in a relationship that looks good on paper, but leaves you cold in person. Maybe you wanted to love it. Maybe you told yourself you did, but the truth is, it feels more like a chore than a choice. And you can't fake passion, not with motorcycles. If it doesn't make you smile when you hear it fire up, if you're always talking yourself into riding instead of itching to go, that's a sign. Motorcycles aren't just transportation. They're emotion on wheels. And if yours feels like an appliance, it's the wrong one. The answer isn't to ride more or wait for it to grow on you. That rarely works. The answer is to admit it, trade it, sell it, move on. There's a bike out there that will pull you toward it, make you forget your to-do list, reroute your weekend, wake you up early on purpose. When it's right, you'll know it. And when it's wrong, you'll feel it every time you turn the key. Don't ignore that feeling. Number 13. You ride less than you used to. When you first got it, you were on that bike every chance you had. Now, weeks go by. It sits collecting dust while your excuses pile up. Too hot today, too much traffic, I'll ride next weekend. But deep down, you know it's not the weather or the roads. You're just not drawn to it anymore. And worse, you don't really miss it. A motorcycle that fits your soul pulls you out the door. You look for excuses to ride it. You take the long way home. If that feeling fades, something's off. Maybe the ergonomics wear you down. Maybe the sound doesn't excite you. Maybe it just doesn't match who you are anymore. The first step is to notice the pattern. Then ask, would I ride more if I had something else? Something lighter, louder, smoother, faster, whatever your heart actually wants. Because sometimes you didn't fall out of love with riding. You just fell out of love with that bike. Don't let a mismatched machine steal your joy. Go sit on other bikes, test ride, borrow a friend's. Find out if something reignites that spark, because when the fit is right, you don't make excuses, you make time. Buying the wrong bike doesn't make you a bad rider. It makes you human. We've all been there. The shiny paint, the hype, the dream you thought you wanted, until reality hits at every red light and every sore wrist. But here's the thing, motorcycles aren't one size fits all. They're like shoes. If it rubs, pinches, or doesn't feel right, you're not going to wear it for long. The right bike feels like an extension of your body. It invites you to ride, challenges you without scaring you, and fits your life instead of fighting it. So if any of these signs hit a little too close to home, don't ignore them. Be honest. You're not stuck, and there's no shame in trading up, down, or sideways. Only in riding something that makes you miserable. Because when you finally find that perfect match, you won't question it. You'll just grin, twist the throttle, and disappear down the road like you were meant to. Now tell me, how many of these signs hit home? Be honest. Drop a comment below and share your story. And if you're still hunting for the one, let's talk. Maybe someone in the comments already found it.